Hey everybody, I'm John and this is Blind Whiskey Reviews. Hey everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today here on Blind Whiskey Reviews. And today we're doing another segment of The Last Pour, where I take 3 bottles of whiskey that are just about empty, and I share the last pour with you and give you my thoughts about this bottle from top to bottom. And today we'll be taking a look at the standard release of Angel's Envy, the Weller Antique 107, and Wild Turkey Longbranch. So I can't wait to share my thoughts with you. Let's jump straight into it. All right, we are going to start with our first whiskey, which is Wild Turkey Longbranch. I've reviewed this whiskey before, as I have with all 3, and I will link the original reviews up here in the corner and down in the description below if you'd like to check those out. So let's pour this whiskey. I gotta be honest with you, as I always keep it honest on this channel, I didn't love this whiskey. And I am a huge Wild Turkey fan. I love their products. I love almost all of what they put out, and this for me is really kind of the exception. So let's get into a taste here and then we can talk about it a little bit. This whiskey, and it still tastes this way, it's tasted about the same from top to bottom. And this whiskey is just lacking in flavor, which is such a shame for a Wild Turkey product. You know, the one Wild Turkey whiskey I haven't had in a long time is their 81 proof, which is like their lowest, entry-level release. So I really can't compare this to that, but out of all the Wild Turkey products I've had recently, this is definitely my least favorite. I don't really care for it at all. I was to the point where I was mixing with Coke, which I just don't do. I just don't enjoy the flavors. There's not much there. It is very thin, very weak. You know, it probably has something to do with the charcoal mellowing process that they used on this, which, was something that Matthew McConaughey wanted to do. This whiskey really just feels like more of a marketing tool than it does a high quality whiskey product, which is strange because they're taking age-stated whiskey. This doesn't have it on the bottle, but it says in the neck tag that it's an 8-year-old whiskey, so they're using 8-year-old product. They're bottling it at a low proof in a nice, it's a nice bottle, it's a nice presentation, nice package, nice stopper, but the whiskey itself is lacking. It's just thin. The mouthfeel is thin. The flavor is thin, and it just doesn't pop with that glorious Wild Turkey, spicy character that you'd get out of one of the regular bourbons. It's just lacking. It's not there. So I didn't enjoy this product very much at all, and especially since this is a $40 bottle of whiskey. I was able to pick this up at Costco for $30, so it softened the blow slightly, but everywhere else you're seeing this whiskey, it is right about $35 to $40, which again, in my book, for I think it's like 86 proof, just not worth it, guys. I wish I could say that it was. I love Wild Turkey. I love all their products. I hate to have to talk bad about them, but on this one, the Russell boys missed, but I really feel like that's more of the Campari influence, and they want them wanting to tie in with a celebrity and use this as a marketing tool. I don't think that if you talk to them behind closed doors, they would tell you this is the best product they put out. So, it is what it is. Let's move on to our next whiskey. All right, next up for our whiskey number 2 is the Weller Antique 107 from the Buffalo Trace Distillery. This is obviously a very highly sought after and touted whiskey, very hyped. And is it worthy of that hype? And is it worthy of the recent price increase from $28-ish to about $50? But it did receive a cork. We'll talk about that a little bit. Let's get this whiskey in the glass. So as you can see, I still have the screw top version of this whiskey. Obviously, this whiskey has become very difficult to acquire, and depending on where you purchase it, very expensive, because many retailers are marking it up to the tune of $100 to $200. And I paid for this particular bottle, I believe it was $27 or $28, somewhere about there. So is it worth $27, $28? Absolutely, 100%. This is a fantastic whiskey. If you watched my original review, which I've linked up here and down in the description below, it was a great whiskey. I gave it one of my higher scores I have on the channel. It tastes great, it pops, it's got tons of great character. It's very much Buffalo Trace, very sweet. You don't get a lot of spicy notes because there is no rye in this mash bill. It's a wheated bourbon, and it shows. So let's get a little bit of this last pour in us. And top to bottom, this whiskey still pops. This bottle's been open for a decent amount of time. I didn't look up when I started opening it. Probably like 6 to 8 months, somewhere in that range. The whiskey still pops. I will say, I feel like the first third of the bottle probably popped a little bit more on the flavor. So not that it's by any stretch of the imagination bad now, but it did taste better, in the first third to half bottle than it does now. Just doesn't quite have the fruity pop that it did at first. When I first reviewed this, if you go watch that, you'll see I talked a lot about it being like super fruity, super red, juicy apple, lots of red fruit and characters like that. And they're still there, they're just not so in your face. They've mellowed out just a touch, and everything's kind of balanced out just a little bit more. Still a fantastic whiskey, drinking great, well worth the $30 you could pay, hopefully you can pay for it. Would I pay $50 for this whiskey is the question. That's difficult. To be honest with you, I probably would, just to get the new bottling, to put it on the channel, to review it for you guys, and let you know my thoughts then. But if it was just me, no whiskey review channel, would I buy another one at $50? God, that's tough. I don't know. I'm in the I don't know category. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I really wouldn't want to. And I think it's more not because the whiskey isn't worth it. I think it's more because I've been paying the same price for this whiskey in the $25 to $30 range for years. And doubling the price for the same product to me is just something I can't handle. I guess it's more principle than anything. So I'm gonna have a hard time separating myself from that principle, but it is amazing whiskey. Is it worth $50? You're gonna have to find out for yourself. But I don't think if you paid the $50 to try it and maybe you didn't think it was quite worth it, you're not far off the mark. So I'll leave you with that. Let's move on to our final whiskey. All right, we're moving on to our last whiskey, which is the Angel's Envy Standard Release Bourbon. I've talked about this before, and I'll tell you a little bit about it while I'm pouring the whiskey, but this whiskey kind of has a special place for me. It wasn't my first whiskey by any stretch. I mean, I was drinking lots of whiskey before I ever touched Angel's Envy. But Angel's Envy was, and I talked about this on a live stream, I think on Another Round, not too long ago. If you haven't caught Another Round, it's a community roundtable with me and a few other whiskey tubers that we do once a month. Definitely go check that out. I've got a playlist on my page. You can check that out and look at our first 6 episodes. And we have another one coming out. Maybe just came out or coming out soon. I don't know what time I'm going to release this video. But anyways, Angel's Envy has a special place for me because it was the first whiskey to really open my eyes to the fact that whiskey could be so different and flavorful. Like I said, I drank whiskey a lot before this. It wasn't like I was new to it. But when I tasted, someone recommended I get a bottle of Angel's Envy when I was at Total Wine. It was a Total Wine store pick. I tried it out and it really just opened up my imagination to the possibilities of what whiskey could be. And we'll get into the taste of this whiskey, but while Angel's Envy probably isn't my favorite whiskey by any stretch of the imagination anymore, I did enjoy it back then, and it did something unique and special for me. But it definitely has a special place for me. It definitely is a good drinking whiskey. Let's get into the taste, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Still pops. Angel's Envy, for a whiskey that is, 86 proof? 86.6 proof? It has a ton of flavor for 86.6 proof. And that's why I will stick to what I've said about this whiskey before, is I think it is a great beginner's whiskey. And it did it for me, and I think it would do it for anybody else, is because it has so much flavor for a low proof whiskey. You get such a robust flavor with a low proof. So it doesn't, some people that are new to whiskey can't really handle the high alcohol, the high proof, the intensity of flavors perhaps. They're not ready for that. This gives you a nice combination of good intense flavor, but a low proof. So it's not too much burn, it's not harsh, it's smooth, it's sweet, it's drinkable, and got a ton of flavor. So that's where Angel's Envy just shines. Now, for a seasoned whiskey drinker, I find Angel's Envy, for me, to be slightly sweet. It's a little bit cloying. I can't drink a lot of it. Like, this is too much of a pour. I wouldn't want to drink this in one sitting. I do enjoy the flavors, and I don't mind drinking it. I'd prefer to drink it in small amounts, a little bit at a time, and I prefer to share it with people. I love sharing Angel's Envy with new whiskey drinkers. So I will be buying another bottle. Probably not so much for myself, but I love to share the whiskey with other people, and I feel like this is a great beginner whiskey. When I do my whatever, top 5 whiskeys for beginners that everybody does. At some point I'll do something like that. This will definitely be on my list because I think it's one of the better ones to bring in a new whiskey drinker. So again, I've reviewed this before. If you want to check out the review, it's up here and down in the description below. All right, everybody, so those are my thoughts on these 3 bottles of whiskey. I'd love to hear what you think. Which of these is your favorite? I have a strong feeling which one it's going to be, but hey, I always like to ask. Leave a comment down below and let me know which of these 3 whiskeys you'd like to add to your collection if you don't have one there already. As always, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at blind_reviews. You can catch me at Mission Bottle Kill on Instagram as well, posting great pictures of people emptying out bottles of whiskey just like these, so you guys can check that out. If you want me to repost your pic, just tag me when you post your picture, and you can send me an email at blindwhiskyreviews, that's whiskey with an E, @gmail.com. And until next time, cheers.